is going on, my headset.
Woo! Baby! Yes! Yes! Cheers. In a game of butt cheeks, old middle school football team could scheme a better offense than Adam Gase.
Welcome, everyone, to the newest edition of the show. We have a lot to discuss today, don't we? Yeah, there's a lot going on in the NFL world, a lot in the sports world in general. So let's just get right into this. Okay, so starting off, of course, on this little bit of somber news, Henry Ruggs. We all know, we've heard what's happened with him. Henry Ruggs was arrested last night. He has officially been released by the Raiders organization. He was in a DUI incident last night where he was driving drunk and he was speeding down a road in Las Vegas, and he ended up killing a woman and her dog in a fatal car crash. The video shown is quite disturbing, of course, where you see the car that he hit is on fire. You see the wreckage just sitting there. It's absolutely awful. Henry Ruggs has officially been taken into custody today. He's facing a lot of jail time, and I assume that might be the end of his NFL career because there is no way that a team is going to take him on after what's happened recently. Some more news is coming out. They said he was intoxicated far over the level that was allowed. He was complete. They said he was very intoxicated. They said he was going 156 miles an hour when he hit the woman. That's just the more details come out, the worse it gets. It's one of those situations where you know it could have been prevented. It's one of those situations where you know it wasn't necessary. This didn't need to happen, and yet it did. It's just unfortunate. People, this should be a reminder. If you cannot drive, please don't try to. If you can't drive and you're just unable to go, it's okay. Call an Uber, call a cab, ask for a ride home. Just please don't do this. Lives were lost, and this was absolutely preventable. Man, what a last few weeks for the Raiders, huh? Have all the controversy surrounding your team. Head coach gets fired. Well, he resigned, but it felt like a formal firing. Now Gruden's threatening to sue the NFL over this whole email scandal, which means that he is definitely not done. And now this happens with your first round pick. Not to mention, the Raiders drafting as a whole hasn't been fantastic. The Raiders drafting as a whole has been pretty mediocre, I would say, since Gruden and Mayock took the helm. And now you have all this surrounding it. It's awful. And there's going to be 30 for 30 on this team. I can just feel it. There's going to be a 30 for 30 on the Gruden Raiders. There's no way there won't be. There has to be a 30 for 30 on this team. At least from the 2018 to 2021 Raiders. Man, what a season for this team. Thoughts and prayers are, of course, with the victims, their families. I hope that I hope that her family can find some peace in this. This is awful. It was absolutely unnecessary. This didn't need to happen. And, yeah, just a bad situation. Time for an awkward transition. Into other NFL news, Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID-19. He has officially been ruled out for the Sunday night game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now we're going to get to see Jordan Love. He will make his NFL debut. And this is interesting because we all know the situation with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, obviously coming out of the summer, going into this year. We know that it is likely that Aaron Rodgers is probably moving on, which is fine. But now Packers fans, this is why I've always felt bad for Jordan Love, because you're asking a team that has a lot of talent on their roster. There's no denying that the Packers have the talent needed for a deep, deep playoff push. But that said, I think that this is going to determine whether or not Jordan Love is going to be ready for next year. And we know what Packers management is thinking. They're the ones who trade up to get Love. They kind of bet their future on Jordan Love being a Packer. So now they want to see, is this guy going to be worth it? Are we going to have what we need to get over the hump in the next few years? And not only that, then have our franchise quarterback going forward. Not saying that this game is going to like define Love's career, that if he does badly, then he's a bust. Packers shouldn't have drafted him, that there's no hope going forward. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying here is that it is a big indicator because he's been learning under Aaron Rodgers. He's been watching Aaron Rodgers. He's been seeing all the intricate movements. And I think that, again, I think Love has a few ways to go. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers, frankly, now with all this situation, and to me, COVID protocol doesn't truly matter. At this point, it's going to be all about whether or not Jordan Love can take this franchise going forward. And when I say COVID protocol doesn't matter at this point, what I mean is I don't think that the Packers are just going to say, oh, well, we had to put him in COVID protocol, so clearly he's a detriment to this franchise. No. If the Packers have to move off Aaron, which is possible, very possible, they're going to look at what happens with Love, and they're going to say, okay, do we have enough here that we're confident to move off Aaron and go forward with him? The Chiefs' defense is a mess, so I wouldn't say that it isn't possible. It is very possible that the Chiefs could have just one of their worst defensive games and that Jordan Love and the Packers could come out on top. They could. Depends on what the Packers plan for him. They're going to run the ball well, or they're going to force Jordan Love into a 50-pass game, which I don't think that's a good idea. They don't do that for Aaron Rodgers. Why would they do that for the rookie? Or not really a rookie, but it feels like it because he hasn't really taken a snap yet. So, interested to see how that plays out. On another note, for the NFL news, in a rumor mill that is constantly being stoked to fire that just won't go away, Odell Beckham Jr. has officially, the relationship is fractured. They didn't move him at the trade deadline. I didn't expect them to. But now apparently there's rumors that the relationship is so fractured that the Browns might just cut Odell and move on. And I don't know how to feel, because I've been on the idea that just getting rid of, I said this on the last show, I've been on the idea that just moving one guy away isn't going to fix all the issues that the Browns have, because I feel the Browns have a lot of issues, and just moving a wide receiver isn't going to help that. But I do think it's gotten to the point where I think it is best that both parties just kind of move on. I think it is best for Odell and the Browns that this relationship come to an end. It feels unhealthy. It feels like it's fractured. I was on the idea that I thought Odell and the Browns was going to work perfectly. I thought, hey, coming into this year, I'm like, hey, the way the Browns are, I think Odell's going to look fine. And obviously, I'm to the point where I can admit I was wrong. And I think a lot of people were wrong. Now, this does not mean that this was all Odell's fault. This does not mean it was all Baker's fault. What this does mean is that simply they tried to make a relationship work, and it didn't. It happens in sports. We've seen people try trades, and the trade doesn't work, or the signing doesn't work. It happens. It happens to everyone. I imagine it's going to be a lot of dead money the Browns will have to eat. But if the relationship is truly that bad, I think they're willing to do it just to move on. And if the Browns do what happened last year, like Baker just gets hot down the stretch, he starts throwing the ball really well, the receivers start catching the ball, Landry, Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, the tight ends, the running backs factor in really well. The Browns can do that, then no reason that I think then, of course, we're going to hear all the narratives again, and of course they'll have validation. It's interesting, though. I remember when the Browns made the trade for Odell Beckham, I thought for sure, like, man, and this was after Baker's rookie year, I thought if Baker takes a step forward, man, the Browns are going to be scary. And here we are. The Browns are now kind of in flux. They have no idea what they're going to do going forward. It looks like this whole thing with Baker Mayfield, I think it is going to work, but the Jarvis and Baker relationship isn't working, which that was a huge selling point when they made the trade, is that, hey, Odell and Baker have a good relationship, so this is going to work fine. And come to find out, it doesn't. I have no idea what the Browns are going to do, but man, it's ugly. Moving on from that, we have some more NFL news in that Saquon Barkley has apparently now tested positive for COVID-19. This is just a little side note here. I don't know what the Giants plan to do after this year. It looks like they're going to kind of enter a bit of a reset or rebuild. I mean, technically they're in a rebuild, so I don't know what a rebuild other than a rebuild is. I don't know if Saquon's future with the Giants is secured. Things have not gone well for either party since the draft. I don't know. That relationship just looks to be souring as well. I want to talk about Kansas City, though, real quick. And this isn't just pertaining to the Packer game. This is pertaining off what I saw in the Monday night game. The Kansas City Chiefs are a mess. I don't think I'm out of line saying that. Yes, they did beat the Giants, but it looked really bad. They were sloppy. They were very unorganized. I don't know what Patrick Mahomes' mindset is right now. I mean, I imagine he'll get this right. And I mean, he's too good not to, but it feels like the Chiefs are kind of getting in their own way. Same thing with the Browns that I mentioned. The Chiefs are frustrating in that they keep getting in their own way. They could be a great team, but either they're lacking the pieces to be a great team, which I can't believe I'm actually saying that, or they're just in the wrong mindset right now in that they think that nothing can go wrong. Throw the ball all over the yard. Try insane plays that blow your mind, except this time it's blowing up on them. They're fumbling the ball. They're throwing interceptions. They're not sustaining drives. That's another big problem for the Chiefs. They're not sustaining drives. They're very inefficient. They can't keep their defense off the field for a long enough time, which leads to their defense being gashed, and their defense is the weakest part of their team. I don't know what Kansas City is going to do going forward, because this isn't like a quick fix, like, oh, the Chiefs just need to trade for this guy, or the Chiefs just need to trade for that guy, or this needs to happen. That's not the case here. This is a systemic issue. This isn't just one player, one coach. This is the case of the Kansas City Chiefs struggling with their own identity. I think they could be a great team. I think they could be a fantastic team. But for that to happen, they're going to need a lot to go right. So that's just my thoughts on them real quick. Let's transition into the World Series. So glad that they finished it off then. The Atlanta Braves finished their job. They finished the World Series beating the Houston Astros 7-0 in Game 6. It's hard not to absolutely be in love with this team. This is a Cinderella story. I thought they were done back in like June. They lose Ronald Acuna. They lose key pieces to injuries. The team is just kind of in flux. They're kind of underachieving. They're kind of just in the middle of the East, which is a considerably weak division. And I thought, well, there goes the Braves. And then people are starting to think, is this the end of their World Series window? Like, are they going to have to reconsider how things are built? It's not easy. And yet here they are, champions with a duct tape squad. They make some trades. They basically rebuilt their outfield at the deadline. They just lean on their pitching, some role players to help out, and they won a championship. A hell of a job. Hard not to admire it. They basically won with a duct tape squad. How can you not love that? I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that has all the superstar talent in the world that you could want, and they're a mess, even though they should be contenders. The Atlanta Braves lost a lot of key pieces to injuries, and they still won. It's good manager. Their manager is fantastic. He did a fantastic job riding the ship. Their players came together at the right time, and they got hot. They got hot at the right time. And in the postseason, if you get hot at the right time, doesn't matter what talent you do or don't have, nobody's beating you. Unless it's a team with equal or more talent. And even then it's tough. The Braves on paper were not the most talented team in this postseason. Definitely not. Especially not in the National League. When you see LA, San Francisco, teams like San Diego out there. It's hard to say that the Braves were the most talented team. They weren't. But they had the best management. They came together. They got hot at the right time. Houston was more talented. And I got to give the tip of the cap to the Braves. They broke the curse. And what better way to break that Atlanta sports curse than with a duct tape team? It's an underdog story. And now we're probably going to get a Disney movie at some point. We get a Disney movie about that team. Oh, it's going to be special. Next item on the docket. Let's talk about some NHL news. NHL games recaps. The Colorado Avalanche, as the team you can see I'm obviously sporting here, are set to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. The Avalanche are suffering a bit of an injury problem. They will not have Cale Makar, Andre Burakovsky, or Mikko Rantanen. 3 huge pieces out of their lineup. The defensive core is going to have to step up with their depth. A lot of their young guys. Jonas Johansson will be getting a start in net, so it'll be an episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's going to be interesting to see what the Avalanche do here because I don't know what their plan is. I think they can win this game. The way they've been playing, they definitely can. But they're going to have to play excellent defense. They will lose this game if they leave Johansson out to dry. Because obviously with some of the losses that they've suffered on the back end, I don't know if Devon Taves is coming back yet. I imagine he's still kind of in flux. So the Avs are still kind of sputtering. Which means we might see Jacob McDonald slide back into the lineup. They might slide Jack Johnson in. It'll be interesting to see what the Avalanche do to remedy this. Last night, this is a team I do want to talk about, a team that is certainly feeling the injury hurt. The Vegas Golden Knights lose to the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-0. Vegas is missing a lot of its best players. They're definitely missing Max Pacioretty. They're missing their top scorers. And to Toronto's credit, they took full advantage of it. The Leafs just they threw everything they had at Robin Lehner. Jet Campbell had a great night. The Leafs are interesting to me because they're a team that has the talent to make a deep playoff run. Obviously Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares. They have all the talent. But for some reason, they're never there. I don't know what that is for them. Jack Campbell, great goaltender in net. They just re-signed Morgan Rielly, which means they're going to be very tight on cap space, which I can imagine means they'll have to do even more cap gymnastics like they have to do almost every summer when it comes to getting themselves under the cap limits. I mean, yes, the cap is going to go up, but I can't imagine that'll be for another year or two. So they're going to have to do some maneuvers to, they have to re-sign Campbell, obviously shore up some of their depth on the bottom 6. But as for Vegas, I wouldn't panic on them just yet. Obviously, they are very battered. And when those guys come back, I imagine they'll be just fine. But it does show that depth does matter in the NHL. We're going to see how the young guys step up. So far, it's not fantastic. I can't wait to see what the Maple Leafs do with this. It's going to be interesting. Another NHL team I want to talk about. Feel like I'm kicking a guy while he's down, but I have to talk about them. The Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes are on the pace to being historically awful. They could break the record for most losses in an entire season. And oh boy, things just look bad. They pretty much nuked their entire team. They sold off all pieces they could find. They got rid of practically their entire goaltending core. Darcy Kemper, Antti Ranta, Aiden Hill, all gone. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is gone. Garland is gone. They're basically just setting up with a young core, and now you have to contend the fact that they might get booted from Gila River after this year, which would be great because either they might move back to Tempe, which, worked out real well last time they were in Tempe. Houston is, of course, an option. I think that's probably what's going to happen. They might end up just moving to Houston. The Coyotes are on the pace for historically awful, and I have no idea where they're going to go from here. At least the Kachina jerseys look nice. Now, there is an NBA team that I want to talk about. I know it feels weird that I'm only talking about this team, but it's a team that I've had some thoughts about for a while, and I want to talk about it now. And this will be the last segment on the show. I know it's a shorter show today, but a lot of the topics we didn't have to ramble on today. So we're just going to talk about this topic, and then I'll conclude the show. The LA Lakers. I have some concerns. Yes, they beat Houston 117-119, but consider the fact that Houston is practically one of the worst teams in the league. And the Russell Westbrook experiment seems to be going wrong, and they don't seem to be quite clicking. They concern me. And the reason is that when I look at the Los Angeles Lakers, on paper, man, they have a roster. You have a lot of big names there, which that's what the NBA is, right? It's superstar talent. It's supposed to be a league built around how many big names you can assemble on a court. But in the midst of that, they've forgotten about chemistry, scheme flow. Because this isn't working, and I don't think this Lakers team has what it takes when it's idle. Westbrook isn't working out. Anthony Davis just seems to be the biggest flopper in the NBA. And if him and LeBron aren't on the court together, the Lakers are just awful. Carmelo Anthony, he's literally just ring chasing. He's just along for the ride. I have no idea what the Lakers are going to do. I do not know if they could beat Phoenix in a 7-game series, which in my opinion, you're going to have to go through if you want to win the Western Conference. You have to go through Phoenix. And I don't know if the Lakers can do it. It's concerning. I don't like that. But I think it's reality right now. I don't know what the Lakers plan to do moving forward. But I don't know. I don't trust them. It feels like they might need to make a move or two, but I don't know if they either have the cap space or the assets to make those moves. Because remember, they traded a lot of assets for Anthony Davis. I think the Lakers are, and in my predictions, I have them as a 5th seed team. People are going to think I'm insane, but I have them as the 5th seed in the West. And I have them, if they're lucky, they'll survive the round. Like the first round, if they get lucky. That is it. I don't know. I just don't think the Lakers are very good right now. And I think they're a little overrated. Some people think I'm insane for that, but right now, from what I'm saying, I don't know if I'm wrong or not. Okay, now this is a video. I literally just saw this last second, but that's what we do here. We do some improvements. I want to talk about the George Payton presser because there is a lot to talk about with the George Payton presser. Some fans are freaking out, and this kind of bent my buttons. I tweeted about this last night, and I want to talk about it right here. So George Payton had a presser after the Von Miller trade, obviously, after the deadline. Broncos made some moves, made a really nice move to flip a rookie corner who hasn't played yet. He was a 7th-round pick for them, and he got a 6th-round pick out of it, turning a 6 into a 7th. Say what you want. That's pretty good value. All that said, the Peyton presser, some fans were freaking out because they thought, oh my gosh, he's not saying the things I want him to say. This isn't good. And he said some comments about Vic Fangio, Teddy Bridgewater. Okay. So since some fans appear to be a little new to this whole thing, or they're just so bent up that they're not thinking rationally, allow me to walk them through this. GMs can never outright say that they're going to let a coach finish the year and then fire him. They're never going to publicly single out players they plan to release after this year. They're never going to single out trades. GMs are never going to publicly admit to tanking, because your job as a GM is to not only make moves and right the ship, but your job is to make sure that chaos doesn't ensue. You can't allow mutiny. Your job as a GM is to at least make sure your players and coaches know that even if they know different behind closed doors, that at least publicly you're behind your team. You have to say that as a GM. A lot of that stuff was PR speak. Come on, we all know that. Broncos fans, are we really getting bent out of shape over public PR speak? Come on, we're better than that. You can't tell me that you actually think he's serious. Is Vic Fangio gone after this year? Probably yes. Is Teddy Bridgewater gone? Likely yes. But him making the comments he makes, he has to say some of these things. He can't just come out and say, oh yeah, Vic's gone after this year. We're going to let him finish the year, then he's fired. In that case, then why even let him finish the year? Just fire him then. Because mid-season firings always spark a team. And I know that people, like the St. Louis Blues, they fired their coach mid-season and then ended up winning the cup. Dude, that's a once-in-a-lifetime type thing. That was weird when it happened. You're not supposed to be in last place and somehow make a run for the cup. When was the last time that happened? As for some of Peyton's comments, Broncos fans, please calm down. You can't admit to tanking. Coaches don't buy into tanking. Players don't buy into tanking. Even if you are, you can't publicly make that known. You want Jimmy Haslam? You want Jerry Jones? You want guys that publicly disparage their coaching staffs and kind of throw out hints that they're firing them and not be subtle? You want that? That's dysfunction. You want that? I would be more concerned if Peyton did say that he wanted to fire Fangio at the presser. I'd be more concerned if Peyton did say that they were tanking. You can't say that stuff publicly. Everyone knows it, but you can't say that. Come on, think logically here. We're all smarter than that. We're better than that. You have to know how PR speak works. Every GM does that. Every GM said exactly what Peyton would have said. And if you can't see through that and you're so bent up, I think that maybe you need to reevaluate exactly how you follow sports. You want some more context here? There are tons of picks that the Broncos got. Tons of them. They could go make a trade in the offseason for a quarterback, trade up in the draft. There is no reason to think that George Payton is going to try to make a big playoff push with the current iteration. That's probably not going to happen. Payton is thinking long game here. But, I mean, if you've seen the actions he's made, he's obviously playing long-term game. People should see right through the PR speak, but some people don't. Either that or they don't want to. Please calm down and think logically. Come on, we're better than this. That'll do it for today's edition of the show. Tomorrow, we were going to talk about some of the Thursday night games that are going to happen. I'll do some recaps from tonight's events. And I will be doing predictions for the NFL upcoming games. There's going to be a lot to talk about there. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in today's edition of the show. I know it's not as long, but I don't want to elongate things. I don't like filler. I will be posting segments from this show later on in the day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Anyways, it's going to be it from me. Hope you guys had a good one. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time. What is going on, my husband?
Woo, baby! Yes! Yes! Cheers. in a game of butt cheeks, old middle school football team could scheme a better offense than Adam Gase?